Welcome back to my channel, Scribes. I want to talk to you about this really cool event that I got to attend, D23. Now you may be asking, why in the heck am I talking about D23, this Disney conference, which is literally labeled and tagged the ultimate fan event? Well, it's partly because I'm a huge fan myself, but also I had no idea what it was truly going to be about until I got there. It was truly an event that screenwriters alike would love to attend, and I actually highly recommend you check it out, especially because Disney is one of the top 5 big companies that actually run the entertainment industry and succeed in all of their popularized movies that are not only based off of IP, but sometimes originally created and diverse. If you know entertainment business, you understand how important it is to be up with the trends and up with the companies that are producing the biggest hits. And Disney is one of them. Yes, if you're going to the famed D23 Expo event, you're definitely gonna wanna get there very early because these fans are not playing around at all. Like, at all. I was actually there at about 6 a.m. myself. It was my first time and I had no idea what to expect, and to be honest, the lines were incredibly long, just like I'd heard from years past. Probably a little less so because of the last few years. You got to see a lot of different panels, a lot of different creators, writers, producers came out and told you about the newest things that are happening with Disney. Now, you know that I like to run my channel and talk about the business of entertainment, and you also know that I truly enjoy talking about writing, of course, because that is a goal myself. But I loved the fact that at D23, there were panels such as The Simpsons, where I got to watch them live draw characters from the beloved cartoon animated series and talk about their long-running show, and surprisingly, they did not disappoint. I'm gonna just play you a little bit of what I got to experience there because I think it's really important for you to hear, and they had some great pieces of advice and also some great knowledge about behind the scenes in the writer's room.
We did the picture of the recording, we did the picture to the recording, and we now, everything's digital, so we actually have digital storyboards, digital animatics, and we rewrite it constantly up till the time the show airs. One story I've told is, when we did a show in season 3, we had a joke about the Soviet Union, but the show took so long to make that the Soviet Union had broken up by the time we ended the show. But fortunately for all of us, it's getting back together. We can put the joke back in, and I think what else you might want to know about the production of the show.
Let's see, it seems, one thing that's good to point out is like exactly how many rewrites there are. Because you first write a script, and then you go through it in the writer's room, and then you have a final script which becomes a table read, right? That's like the first thing.
There was a very famous voiceover actress, I won't name, but she played Rocky the Flying Squirrel, who was in the first show. We sent down rewrites to the stage, and she was like, "Rewrites? Nobody does this."
Right, it was very much a new thing because nobody had done an animated show like you would do a sitcom. And this is the way a sitcom would work, and that was a big aha, I think, of The Simpsons. It was like, oh, we're going to change completely how we go about this.
One thing that happened after The Simpsons came out is that there were a lot of other animated shows right at the beginning, like one called Capital Critters, and one called Fish Police. Do you remember that? Mr. Person in the back. Thank you for the thing with these shows, though, is they only had one writer, and The Simpsons has always had at least half a dozen writers, you know, from a ton of experience on the staff. And it wasn't until shows like Pika Lee and Family Guy had bigger writing staffs that we had things where they turned out to be scripts that, you know, people thought were like The Simpsons. And you know, it's like any process, like you can't separate the writing from the animation. It's important that they both just have a ton of work put in.
Well, I remember, not only was one writer, but I remember there was like, you know, things in the LA Times and these new shows and they're being interviewed prior to their shows being out, and they were boasting that, well, unlike The Simpsons, we'll only have one writer because I'm so good at my writing, and unlike The Simpsons, we're going to be canceled in 2 episodes. So.
We're not Betty, we're still airing grudges from 30 years ago. And I just want to say, season 33 of The Simpsons, which has just aired on Fox, premieres on Disney Plus October 5th. And we, I know I'm in a Disney hall, so don't, kill me if I say this, but we love being on Disney Plus. It's the greatest. I can't think of a better place. And we do these shorts, and we collaborate with Star Wars and Marvel. And it's a dream come true for somebody like me who grew up with Marvel and Star Wars. And we didn't have a real choice over where we landed in the streaming wars, but we're really, really happy where we are. People always say, like, how long is the Halloween show to do? And that actually takes a year.
Yeah.
If we read the Halloween show for the next year, the year prior, and do people like the Halloween episodes? I've got some good news for you. This year there are two. There's a regular Treehouse, and has anybody heard of the book It by Stephen King? Krusty
I've heard of that.
is It in a full-length Halloween episode. So we're going to have them back to back. So 2 Halloweens. Soon will be 22 Halloweens a year. It's like our goal. But,
and one normal show.
It'll be a Christmas show. To kind of round out the focus. Anything else you want to draw as we finish up?
I'm just going to keep drawing, and if you guys want to ask some more questions, go ahead.
Well, there's one other thing, like what you're saying, just so people know. So Homer has the hair like this, and the ear like that. So Matt, he wanted to make sure people knew he had created the show. Drew the M and the G in the hair and the ear. So if you see the original drawings Matt did, it's there. And then the one thing that's like that is Krusty. Matt had an idea right at the beginning that Krusty was going to secretly be Homer in disguise, which he isn't, and he's 2 separate characters. But if you took the Krusty model and you put off the hair and you just looked at the basic body, it's Homer. So that's like a little Easter egg in the show.
Yeah, see, that was the original intent. This is on when we're doing the shorts. And he said, well, to draw Krusty, just take Homer and give him Bozo clown hair. The tuft here and the side hair here. And that was the idea. But once we started doing it, even the beginning of the first season, we said, and Matt said, that idea isn't workable.
I'm glad you did. And that's a wrap. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for all I can't do anything there, but
Now, it wouldn't be D23 without all of the announcements of the new and upcoming short films and, of course, feature films that Disney is putting together in the background. And there were some really great things that are happening with the company. Now, you know that they're very well known for all of their diverse films, and they've been really great at changing year after year with, of course, their audience that is growing up. And they've also been able to change for the generation that's growing up now and coming into their own. So it's really great to see all of the things that Disney is working on. Some of the really cool things that we got to see was how they're actually starting to sort of move away from all CGI. It's interesting to see how technology is evolving within the filmmaking space. In cinema, we know that we've seen that CGI that has sort of taken our breaths away, or the CGI that has also left us speechless because it didn't look quite real. And Disney is actually planning to use a robot to actually create a live visual of something that can't be done safely for humans and can be done safely in a controlled environment with a really cool robot that is going to be flipping about and doing everything that you ever imagine Spider-Man could actually do. And we get to actually see that captured on a screen, how technology is evolving and making things feel even more immersive as you sit in a theater than they already are. Now, if you've watched my Bridgerton musical Scandal with Netflix, you know that IP is something that is very hot topics for production studios, and that is because you can create merchandising off of it. And Disney is someone who has proven how much you can go forward with that merchandise and how much you can actually use it to benefit the overall branding that you're creating with your projects and with your writing. So for those of you who are probably writing some sort of an action adventure or something that is fantasy based, you better believe that there's probably going to be merchandise that could be attached to it in the future. And I definitely suggest to think about that branding now, because when you do make those deals later on, they're going to look a little something like the branding that Disney does with, of course, their parks and all of their items. So take a look at some of the things that I got to see at D23. Creating so much backstory to your characters allows for all this kind of merchandise to actually be created. It allows for all of the people, all of the audience who are enjoying that world that you created, allows them to have this story that they can really build off of and create that world in person in any kind of experience, whether it's a live experience or it's a promotional experience, something that might be permanent or limited time. It just goes to show you how much your writing can impact all of these things when you actually create. And it's really easy to write in such descriptions into your writing, down to the details of what your characters are wearing. You can see that just displaying this automatically gives you the visual of who that character is. It's just so interesting how Disney has managed to actually pick up brands and create brands where the characters are recognizable by just the clothing they're wearing. We have this huge Tafiti that is going to be what I assume to be somewhat of a life-size replica of what the movie would have actually been like. And this is going to be placed, it looks like, in Epcot. It's really fantastic to see this being drawn up and planned, because I can't even imagine what that's going to look like in person. It was quite a long day at Disney and D23 at the Anaheim Convention Center. I highly enjoyed it. I was super excited to be there because I remember that the first year I moved to California in 2019, I was here exactly the days that they were actually having the 2019 D23 conference. And I worked exactly directly next door at the hotel, and I watched from the window as people got to go into the Anaheim Convention Center and enjoy everything that Disney had upcoming and to offer. But it's really interesting that I didn't really think that it would be this impactful for a filmmaker and a writer to go to as it was. It was amazing to be there with all of the creators and to feel that inspiration just sort of fueling me to come home and write and create some more. So it was a really great conference to be at. I highly recommend going to these conferences, even if they seem like they're just passively for fun, stuff like LeakyCon or D23 Expo or Anime Expo. If you're interested in writing that type of stuff, give me a like down below if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you went to the D23 conference and what you got to enjoy there, and I will see you on the next one, Scribes.